Alright everyone, welcome back to Cody's Lab. So today we're going to do some mushroom casting. So I'm going to take this portobello mushroom here and I'm going to turn it into bronze. So it'll be made out of metal. I think that'd be pretty neat. So this is just a portobello that I purchased at the store. As you can see, they've cut the stem off pretty short, so we'll have to build that up a little bit. This is the same type of mushroom as the button mushrooms that are most commonly consumed here in America, that has just been allowed to grow to its full size. And I want a bronze mushroom that I could like bolt to a rock or something. So anyway, I'm just going to use a plaster investment. So this is just some plaster of Paris here. I'm going to mix it with about 50% fine silica sand. The sand makes the plaster a little bit more resistant to heating, sudden changes in heat. Pour in some water. Okay, let's put this over in my metal dish here. Okay. Probably should have used a little bit more, but we're gonna live with it. Let's take the mushroom. I'm gonna push it down into the plaster. Just like so. I'm gonna mix up some more plaster and sand. I'm gonna go around. I'm gonna add the plaster just like that. Maybe I'll rough it up a little bit so it'll stick better. Before it starts to set up, I need to go through, just kind of bevel it from the mushroom up. But there we are. Now we'll just let that set up completely. The plaster is fully set up. I'm going to go through, just kind of clean up these edges with my knife here. There we go. So now I've got some wax melting right here. I'm just gonna brush on this wax onto the plaster. And it's okay if it gets on the mushroom a little bit as well. Okay, now for the vent tubes. I'm gonna get some wax that's nice and warm and soft. I'm going to roll it into little noodle shapes, just like this. I'm going to take and just kind of squish it in there, just like that. The wax will burn out, providing a path for gases to go. So when the metal goes in, the air that's inside the mold can escape. Okay, so I got the vent tubes on, but I'm actually removing them because they're going to get in the way. Once I get the little foundation together, it'll be easy just to stick it back on there. And I'm going to sculpt the central stem out of wax. I'll do that now. There we are. I think that'll work. I'll put the vent tubes back on. Okay, so that's what I've come up with. There's the vent tubes. Now we just add the plaster. There's some cracking there, but you know what, I'm going to leave it. Let's just pour it in on the gills here, and hopefully it'll kind of take their shape. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So the plaster's all done, and we just gotta let it dry out. It'll dry a lot faster if I cut the metal can off the bottom here, so let's do that. Alright, here it is. It's had over a week to dry out. I'm just going to go pop it in the oven and melt the wax. Alright, just gotta pop it open. There we are. We have a mushroom which is probably rotten. Empty cavity where the mushroom was. Very smelly mushroom. Take the majority of it. Let's throw it in the compost or whatever. Yeah, you can see the gills and everything there. Vent holes. Hot. I'm just gonna clean the mold up a little bit. Scrape off the excess bits. Clean up some of these gills that got smashed. Okay, just stick it in the furnace. We'll heat it up and burn away all the rest of the wax that is soaked into the plaster and the remains of the mushroom. I'd like to put this other piece in as well, but it might not fit. I might have to do it separately. Okay, it's been hot for a while. Let's check on it. Yep, still burning dry. Okay, a little bit hotter. It looks pretty much done. Let's let it cool. Alright, it's cooled off. Let me blow the ash away. There we go. That's one half of the mold done. There's a few cracks, but it's nothing too major. As long as the mold's holding together. I can always, if metal goes into those cracks, I can just shave it off with the grinder later. I have some room. I'm going to cook another mold while I'm at it. There it is. The organics and all the moisture has been baked out. So now when you pour in the metal, it's not gonna bubble and pop. Just let it cool off. Here's the two halves of the mold. I'm going to put them together, just like so. And now when I put the metal in, it's going to want to force those apart. Use a piece of wire here to hold it together. Conveniently, I have a little groove to put the wire in. Just to tighten it up a little bit. I don't want to go too much because the plaster is very brittle right now. But just something to hold it together when the heavy metal goes in. Okay, here we are. Make sure nothing fell down inside of it. I've got a pan here. There's some sand in the bottom. Set the mold right there. And I'll put more sand around the sides. Now this mold is going to leak metal, so the sand will just stop the metal from going everywhere. Also helps hold the mold together so it doesn't split open sideways. I need to turn my fan on. It's getting dusty. that's about it. Okay, mold's in position. Crucible's in the furnace. Bronze is in the crucible. Hopefully I have enough to fill the mold. Let's get this turned on. Come on. There we go. What's that set for? 2,000 degrees. Alright, that should be good. So put the lid on, let it get melty. Alright, furnace is up to temperature. Let's see what we got. That's melty. That's some liquid bronze. Now, I want to pour a full thing, so here's a bronze fitting. Throw that in there. Also got some piece of copper pipe I can stick in there. Just to bulk it up. I think this has a little bit of zinc on it. Yeah, brass. They were brazed, but shouldn't hurt anything. There you go. Did it finish? Copper will just dissolve. It'll make the bronze a little bit higher in copper, but shouldn't hurt anything. It'll still be pourable. Okay, just give that a good stir. Pull off some of the dross. Said and done. Okay. Let's see if I can get this out of there. It's going to be heavy. About 3 kilos, but okay. Set her there. Pour. Okay, hopefully no explosions. Took it all. Didn't fill the stem of the mushroom. I don't know if you can see down there or not. Hopefully it worked. I'll let it cool off for a little while and we'll break it open and see how it did. I wonder if... what if I did just pour in some more metal? What would it do? There it is. Since the furnace was already hot, I decided to melt some brass and we're going to pour another mushroom. So the zinc makes fumes, as you can see. Okay. Pour it in. I messed up a little bit. Hopefully it works out. Yep. That might have done all right. Yeah. It got gills. That worked. Well, let's go put it in some water, bust it open, and see how we did. Here we are. Holes in it. You see the seam there. The second edition of metal went in. Holding together pretty well though. See the gills. Turned out pretty nice. Just got a cavity in the middle of it right there. Oh well. Give it some character, I guess. Cooled off. It's heavy. It's just kind of hollow. It's interesting. Looks like I'm not going to have to do very much cleaning up with it. A little bit here is all. Why it had so many bubbles. The other mushroom didn't. Is it just because it was so much hot metal? It's a significant space there. Yeah, it's almost big enough that a wasp or some bee could build a nest in that. It'd be interesting. So I polished up the spoon that I used to stir the metal. I thought it looked kind of cool. Okay, as you can see, I've buried the mushroom in sand. And I'm gonna hit it right here at that seam with the torch. I'm gonna meld a spot. We're gonna turn the mushroom and meld another couple of spots, just so that this piece here doesn't come off. So there it is. Stem of the mushroom is very hot, but I've managed to weld it in a few places, so now it shouldn't just fall off. See that seam? See where the seam disappears because I've melted the metals together. So right now I'm just trying to get the residual plaster out of the gills. You see, I'm just touching it up with the grinder. I didn't have to do much. I didn't have any vent tubes to cut off, for instance. Just to get all the little sharp bits, really. here it is. A fully developed Agaricus bisporus made into bronze. Nice. This thing weighs 6 pounds. It's crazy. It's got a bunch of little holes and bubbles in the top. I think what that is the plaster mold. At least the bottom half of it didn't get baked long enough. It still had a little bit of moisture, and it doesn't take a lot of moisture to put bubbles in a cast like this. The other mushroom that I cast, it probably had the same moisture content in the mold, but since it was such a thin material, it cooled so quickly it really didn't have a chance to heat up the plaster and drive off water from it. So maybe for larger casts, I'll try using a sand mold in the future. So I see this other mushroom that was fairly large. It also had a similar problem. See all the little bubbles in that one. But these smaller ones, the plaster works just fine for these. This one was an ink cap. This one I actually tried dissolving the mushroom out using sulfuric acid, and it made the mold kind of rough. But it looks cool anyway. Yeah. And this one here is a Shaggy mane mushroom. It's really dark in color. So it's like it's deliquescing. It's turning into ink and curling up. I thought that was cool. Anyway, I said I wanted to mount this on a rock. Let's go do that. Got a little wedge anchor here, which I'll just hop in the hole and hammer it in. A bronze mushroom growing out of a rock. That's pretty cool. Maybe someday I'll have a whole garden of them. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. If you'd like to see me making this one from a pheasant back mushroom that I found in my yard, I have a short video on TikTok. Link below.